I call the honourable member Scott Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great pleasure this evening to stand in the House in support of a very good speech yesterday by the Prime Minister, the Honourable John Key. It was a wonderful speech. It was a speech of aspiration, of positiveness and ambition for our country in troubled, difficult times. The most difficult financial economic situation since the Great Depression. And what it is, Mr. Speaker, it is a wonderful example of the clear, focused and aspirational approach of this government in so many areas that we have seen over the last several years, but last year in particular. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to just commence my comments this evening by extending Happy New Year wishes to members of the House and, of course, to all presiding members over the House. And it was poignant, I think, to hear Speaker Smith in his last question time today leave the question time to applause from across the House, because I think he's done a particularly outstanding job. It doesn't seem, Mr. Speaker, like 30 years ago that as a very, very, very young national, I attended his selection meeting in Dargaville. And it was interesting that there are 3 people who now sit in this chamber who were at that meeting. Obviously Lockwood Smith himself, myself as a very junior backbench MP, and of course the Honourable Winston Peters, the Right Honourable Winston Peters was there. Now of course Winston was a contender for that selection.
Must use the member's full name or his title.
Oh, the Right Honourable Winston Peters was a contender for that selection. And of course that is the sort of history that goes back a long way. So, Mr. Speaker, Dr. the Honourable Lockwood Smith, I think has done this House proud over his period of time. Right Honourable, I'm being told by the member for Tauranga, has done a particularly good job, and a job that we can be proud of. It's been a pleasure to watch his progress over those 30 years, and it will be a distinct pleasure to continue watching his progress as he represents New Zealand in London. I want to congratulate my colleagues Michael Woodhouse, Nikki Kay and Nick Smith for their cabinet promotions. Nick Smith, of course, returning to a cabinet after a respite on the backbenches. And of course to our new whips, Louise Upston, Tim McIndoe and Jamie Lee Ross. There is some debate in the backbenches of the National Party as to what to call the third whip. Do we call him the junior whip, or do we call him Whippet, or do we call him Little Flick, or Cracker? And so these are weighty issues that occupy the minds of some of us sitting on the back benches. I think that we will talk to him in terms of junior whip, something along those lines. I'd like to record my thanks to Kate Wilkinson and Phil Heatley for their contributions around the Cabinet table. They've made great contributions to our country and to this Parliament. This speech that the Prime Minister gave yesterday in his statement to Parliament represented absolutely all the best aspects of strong, stable government. Aspirational, visionary, leadership well-defined, focused on a brighter future for our nation, for our children and for our grandchildren. And I'm very proud, Mr. Speaker, to be a part of that team. And it's going to be very clear, in fact it is clear from the speech, that the economy remains front and centre for our ambitious plans in 2013. It's going to be a busy year ahead. There's going to be a lot of action, a big, full legislative agenda and lots of positive things to come out of this Parliament on behalf of New Zealand and also for the good people of Coromandel. Mr. Speaker, of course, I have the very great privilege and pleasure of representing that very beautiful electorate. And last night, my colleague Simon O'Connor from Tamaki was kind enough to say that it was Coromandel that was the electorate where most New Zealanders want to go on holiday. Indeed, we've seen record numbers of New Zealanders coming to holiday this summer in Coromandel. Official figures released today by the Thames Coromandel District Council indicate that in just the Whangamata, Tairua and Pawanui areas, somewhere between 65 and 75,000 people have visited and holidayed in just that small part of the Coromandel electorate this year. That's the equivalent of a small city. It's enormously good for our local economy, and it's been a good summer for the electorate. This year, we will be seeing some of the real benefits of this government's forward thinking in terms of positive impacts for people of the Coromandel. Aquaculture is a very big part of the plan for Coromandel. New Zealand's next billion-dollar primary business will be aquaculture. A recent economic impact report quantified actually what we already knew, Mr. Speaker, and that is that aquaculture is a major employer and provides very important economic benefits to the Coromandel region. New Zealand aquaculture exports alone generated over $300 million worth of earnings in the year ended September 2011, and that's approximately 20% of the total seafood export revenues. And the industry, Mr. Speaker, has a target goal of reaching that billion-dollar level by 2025. I'm very confident that in Coromandel we'll be able to add to that, because it's well known and well researched that in fact global consumer demand for seafood will almost double from 45% to 85 million. From 45 million tonnes to 85 million tonnes by the year 2015. And that will reap for our country more than $60 million in GDP and provide in the Coromandel an extra 350 regional jobs that are important to the future of the electorate. The Hauraki Rail Trail has been an outstanding and stunning success in my area this summer. Literally tens of thousands of people have taken the opportunity to use the trail that runs between Thames to Paeroa, and then from Paeroa to Te Aroha, and then back to Paeroa and on to Waihi. So that's been a stunning success. It's a scenic attraction. It's on Auckland's doorstep, and it's going to provide great opportunity for my electorate. The debate on local government reform will occupy much time in Coromandel this year as the regional councils and Thames District Council, Matamata Piako, Western Bays and Hauraki all decide what their futures are going to be. And of course our hard-working farmers will continue to provide the economic backbone for the entire region. And as my colleague Paul Hutchison said, many of them are struggling now with temperatures and conditions that are far too dry for them. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I just want to spend a minute or two talking about the justice portfolio so ably led by the Honourable Judith Collins, because she's doing an outstanding job on behalf of New Zealanders. New Zealanders, Mr. Speaker, deserve to feel safe in their homes and communities, and under Judith Collins's careful tutelage, she will make sure that they are safe and their homes. Because national under John Key and Judith Collins, we're building a safer New Zealand. We've embarked on a comprehensive program of reform to protect communities, prevent crime and put victims first. There are 600 extra police and they are doing a good job. So this year, the government's plan is to continue making progress with a number of pieces of legislation to, amongst other things, make it harder for those accused of the most serious offences to get bail. And we'll be reducing the number of parole hearings for prisoners who are actually unlikely to be released. And so, Mr. Speaker, we've got a full legislative agenda ahead for the year under the very capable leadership of Prime Minister John Key, and I'm very proud to stand in support of his premiership and this National Party's activity for the year.
I call the Honourable Member Kennedy Graham.